Hello everyone! Today, we are going to have another first quarter Mapeh lesson in grade 8 and this is under the health module. This lesson is the second part of our topic on family health, specifically the issues and problems related to human sexuality. After learning about human sexuality and gender, you will now be introduced to the nature and prevention of sexually transmitted infections or STIs like human immunodeficiency virus or HIV and acquired immune deficiency syndrome or AIDS. Are you ready to listen? Let's start with our discussion. Sexually transmitted infection or STI is a communicable disease that is spread from person to person through sexual contact. It is also known as sexually transmitted disease or STD. It is a communicable disease that is spread by a pathogen, a disease-causing organism, from one person to another person through an exchange of bodily fluids during sexual contact. These are commonly caused by bacteria, viruses, or parasites. Symptoms of STIs depend on the type of infections. Common symptoms include unusual discharge from the genitals, warts, blisters or sores in the genital area, rashes, itchiness or irritation in the genital area, painful urination, flu-like symptoms. The only certain way to prevent or to keep from catching these diseases is by abstinence. Sexual abstinence is the deliberate choice to refrain from all sexual activity. Some STIs don't have any signs or symptoms. In fact, 1 of every 10 people can have STIs but be asymptomatic. These people are carriers and are very dangerous because they can transmit an infection without even knowing it. Some common STIs include AIDS, chlamydia, genital herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis, and public lice or crabs. Let's talk about AIDS. AIDS is caused by a pathogen called human immunodeficiency virus or commonly known as HIV. The long-term effect of AIDS is that immune systems will fail. Severe illness will lead to death, and 8 to 10 years to see signs of infection. Infection of infants leading to death. Prevention measures include abstinence from sexual intercourse and from use of intravenous drugs. So what is HIV and AIDS? Acquired immune deficiency syndrome or AIDS is a fatal communicable disease with no effective treatment or known cure. It is the final stage of infection caused by the human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. When HIV enters the body, it attacks the body's immune system. Thus, the body becomes vulnerable to opportunistic infections or diseases that develop when the body's defense system becomes weak. One of the infections that is caused by HIV is Kaposi's sarcoma, a rare but deadly type of skin cancer, recurrent pneumonia, and toxoplasmosis within the brain. Early symptoms of infection with HIV may include a rash, sore throat, fever, and tiredness. Nearly everyone with HIV develop AIDS. People with AIDS cannot fight off diseases that healthy people could easily resist. Because AIDS has no cure, people with AIDS eventually die from one of these diseases. Another STI is chlamydia. Chlamydia is caused by a pathogen called Chlamydia trachomatis bacterium. The long-term effects are, in women, pelvic inflammation with abdominal pain, fever, menstrual bleeding, ectopic pregnancy, and in men, enlarged lymph glands of the groin, infection of the testicles, and infection during birth can cause blindness or illness in a newborn. Some prevention measures include abstinence from sexual intercourse. Next kind of STI is called genital herpes. It is caused by a pathogen called herpes simplex 2 virus. Long-term effects include If it is left untreated, it may cause cervical cancer in women and cause deformities in unborn babies. Prevention measures: abstinence from sexual intercourse and from use of intravenous drugs. Next is gonorrhea. It is caused by a pathogen called Neisseria gonorrhea bacterium. Long-term effects include sterility, liver disease, testicular disease, infection of heart lining, eye infections for newborn leading to blindness. Prevention measures are abstinence from sexual intercourse and from use of intravenous drugs. Another example of STD is syphilis. It is caused by a pathogen called Treponema pallidum bacterium. Its long-term effects is, if left untreated, mental illness, heart and kidney damage, and death. Its preventive measure is abstinence from sexual intercourse and from use of intravenous drugs. These are the different modes of transmission, or how the diseases can be transferred from one person to another. First, through sexual contact, infected bodily fluids, and blood or semen. Injecting drug and sharing infected needles. Maternal transference or mother-to-baby during pregnancy. Reducing the risks of sexually transmitted infections. Safeguarding one's sexual health starts from accurate information and awareness of sexuality-related issues. Sexually transmitted infections could be completely eradicated if people practice wise decision-making skills and firmly say no to risky sexual behaviors. The best way a teenager can prevent sexuality-related problems is through sexual abstinence. Abstinence is refraining completely from sexual relations with other people. Here are some of the government policies in the prevention and control of HIV or AIDS and other STIs. First, Republic Act No. 8504, also known as Philippine AIDS Law. And the second one is called RA 7719, or the Blood Service Act of 1994, which is a government effort that ensures a clean blood supply to prevent issues and problems related to sexuality. Let's talk about the Republic Act 8504, or the Philippine AIDS Law. The Philippine AIDS Prevention and Control Act of 1998, or RA 8504, is the government's response to the threat of HIV/AIDS in the country. Important provisions of the law include the following. The state shall promote public awareness about HIV/AIDS through various modalities: integration in the curriculum or development of special modules in basic education, inclusion in tertiary and vocational curriculum, providing education in the workplace, for Filipinos going abroad, and among community people in general. The state shall also ensure safe practices and procedures regarding donation of blood, organ, or tissue. The state shall provide a mechanism for anonymous HIV testing and shall guarantee anonymity and medical confidentiality in the conduct of such tests. The Philippine National AIDS Council, PNAC, shall oversee an integrated and comprehensive approach to HIV/AIDS prevention and control in the Philippines. Another Republic Act is RA 7719, or also known as Blood Services Act of 1994. This law protects and promotes public health through provisions related to blood donation. The government promotes voluntary blood donation as a humanitarian act. However, there are requirements that you need to meet if you want to donate blood. This is to ensure a clean and safe blood supply. Thus, you need to live a healthy lifestyle in order for you to be a voluntary blood donor in the future. To protect you from blood transfusion transmissible diseases like HIV or AIDS, this law lays down the legal principle that the provision of blood for transfusion is a professional medical service and not a sale of a commodity. They establish scientific and professional standards for the operation of blood collection units and blood banks or centers in the Philippines. People don't have to sell blood as a commodity. To be a responsible voluntary donor, you donate the blood for a cause through medical and scientific care. Now let's talk about your refusal skills. This is your ability to say no to unhealthful practices. Here are some techniques of saying no. Maintain eye contact and say no firmly. Be true to yourself and to your belief. Give reasons for saying no. Walk away or avoid the situation. Change the subject, and match verbal with non-verbal communication. Despite the efforts of government and civil society, the incidence of STIs, particularly HIV/AIDS, continue to increase. Thus, it poses a serious threat to Filipinos, especially to young people like you. According to the Department of Health's Philippine HIV and AIDS Registry, we had already exceeded the 10,000 mark in HIV infections since 1984, when the disease was first documented in the country. More than 1,000 of these already developed into full-blown AIDS. Sexually transmitted infection is preventable. The first step is to remain sexually abstinent until marriage. Next is to obtain accurate information about these diseases and recognize inaccurate information. Third is to enhance life skills. By knowing how to make decisions and practice refusal skills, you can never go wrong in safeguarding your health. And that's the end of the second and last part of our health lesson this first quarter. The part 1 of this lesson is in the other video uploaded also in my channel. So for the complete discussion of this lesson, you might also want to check the part 1 video lesson of this topic. I hope you learned a lot about the different issues and diseases related to human sexuality from our discussion, and hopefully you can apply it in your real life. Thank you for watching and see you again on our next lesson. Bye!